Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's your girl Vic here.
And it's me, Wiggy.
Welcome to the first ever episode of the Tents and Tabernacles Podcast, where we meet God through the person of Jesus Christ. I'm excited, a
Yes.
little too excited for it to be 9 p.m.
Yes. Yeah, it just had to be done though. I was like, I
It
don't care
did.
what time. It really just needs to be done. So here we are.
Exactly.
hmm
Because these conversations are about to be lit.
Yes. We're
About
gonna
to be
get
a little
into it.
crazy.
We're gonna get into it,
For sure.
hmm
For sure. And I guess that leads us into our first segment.
Yes.
It's going to be called The Highs and the Tries. In this segment, we're going to share a highlight of our week and then something that may have been trying us, okay? And then how we got through it.
Got it.
So, did you want to go first?
Okay, let me think. My high this week, the past week. So we're on Monday. My high, I feel like I really had kind of a trying week last week. Honestly, I was very emotional all over the place. I felt like, but let me try to think of a high really quick. Oh, wait. My son's birthday just passed. My son just turned
Happy
3.
birthday, son.
Yeah, so that was good. We had a really good birthday party for him. He was really excited. I think his cousins got to come over and we had like a little splash day type of situation.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, and it didn't rain. It was supposed to rain. And then some of my cousins ended up being in town because my family's from New Orleans. So they were a little displaced because of the hurricane that just happened.
Gotcha.
So, it was like a bad situation, but it turned out to be good because I got to see more family. So that was a good high. And then my try was this past week, they passed the law about the, I don't even know if we can say this on air, about the humans inside of other humans and how
yes.
and then there was just a lot going on social media.
Yeah.
A lot of angry people, and I asked a few questions that I just thought should be asked. People was getting mad, so I really been taking a break from social media the past few days.
I understand that.
I was like,
completely.
But that was probably it. What about you?
So work has been good. I started
Okay.
a new job, and
You like that?
the crazy part is that it's not the most ideal situation, I guess,
Mm.
with the staff and everything, but I love situations like that because I can help put things back together. So I enjoy going to work. It's hard, but I enjoy going to work. And then I guess a try for me is the I'd have to say my devotional time has kind of been rocked.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a good way, kind of shaken. Not gonna say in
Mm-hmm.
shambles, but
Yeah.
it was a little scarce and I could feel it. Like I started to
Mm.
feel really purposeless and lost and
Mm.
confused and
Mm.
directionless. And I was like, I really have not spent time with God.
I
Like
am
I
like
should
in the
have.
same boat. Like that's how I felt too, and that's why I was like, you know what? I feel like God had been telling me to fast from social media anyway. So and I kept being like not doing it,
Mhm.
and I wasn't really being in my word. Like I would read whatever we read that day, but I would
Right.
just be like, not really sitting and meditating in it, not really you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Exactly.
I could almost tell it was a little off with you too, because I'm like, not that I know you so well. I feel like we do feel like we know each other forever. It's really weird. And I try not to overstep my boundaries because it's like, you don't know her that well yet, but you think you feel like you know her.
Right. Yeah.
But I was like, I feel like you hadn't been on Instagram. I know you've been getting tired of Instagram, but I was like, she just ain't really big. Like, I know her. And even in our group, I'm like, she not really commenting. I'm like, what's going on? I know something's going on over there, but I'm gonna ask her
Yeah.
later. I'm like, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but I feel like sis going like we both like. I feel like ever since we said we was gonna do the podcast, devil been like
Yes.
distraction, emotion, boom. you know?
Man, like I was having anxiety, full
Yeah.
blown anxiety, and I hadn't had anxiety in a while. And
Mhm.
so I was just like worried about everything, just kind of on edge. Yeah, it was not a fun time. It was
Yeah.
not a fun time, but it just makes me even more, I guess, excited about us doing this podcast now because clearly it's supposed to be done.
Yes, yes. And it's
Clearly.
gonna like for it makes it more exciting to me to like be in my
Yeah.
word so I can have someone to talk to. But I just felt like the devil was like, "Oh, you gonna try to you think you gonna be doing a podcast?" And then all this like self doubt and just like,
Yes.
oh
Oh my
man,
goodness. I'm
like
glad it wasn't
like I'm
just me.
like yeah,
I was like,
like
I don't have a seminary degree. What I gotta say? Like,
yeah, like what
this
you
is
gotta
just me
say?
reading my Bible.
You gonna make mistakes. You gonna be saying the wrong thing, and I'm just like, but you know what? You have to keep pushing because well, first I heard this. I feel like from God today, He was just like, I forgot exactly what the verse is, but it's like to seek the kingdom of God first, everything will be
Hmm.
added. Because I'm just worried about all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? If I just focus on what God want me to do, focus on His word, focus on getting the word to people, then everything else is gonna come, right? And
Yeah.
then so this morning I had a meeting with this girl that I know from college. She's starting a nonprofit. She asked me to be a part of it as part of the board of directors. And she was like, Christina, I know God has put you in my life. I was like, what's up? She was like, I've been following you with your motherhood journey for a while. She was like, I saw you with your son. She's like, I saw you started posting more about God. It led me to start. And I was just like, she was like almost about to cry. And I was like, wow, like God, you did all that. Cause I am really I don't feel like I did anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm just posting stuff. I'm just posting verses. I'm just
Right.
sharing my journey, and it really
Mhm.
impacts people. So we got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
For real. All right. So what is our next thing? We're gonna transition into the meat of our subjects,
Hmm.
and that is what we read these past 2 weeks. So some of our audience is not gonna know. But last, what was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago? I'm not sure
It
now.
was like
But
2 weeks ago.
me and Vic decided that we were going to read through the Bible in chronological order. And we were going to invite people along to do it with us. So we have a group that is on the YouVersion app. You can't join it now, unfortunately, but maybe next plan we do, you can, you can join.
Yeah.
But we have about 121, 123 people in the group. And so what we decided was we're going to go through what we read, what we liked, things that we thought were important, where we see Jesus, and we're also probably we're gonna talk about a few other things too. But that's what we're gonna talk about right now. So
Yeah.
where should we start? Should we start at the beginning naturally?
Naturally, yeah. I love our group. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone coming in and commenting and stuff. Because on the YouVersion app, if you don't know, if you join a plan with your friends, you can have conversations about it like every day. And I didn't know that was an option until we did this. And so, if you're wanting to start a Bible plan with your friends, this is the YouVersion
Really
app is
fun. Really
a
fun.
really good place to do it. But I just love our group. They're so sweet and
Mm-hmm.
they love God and they just be wanting to know more about God and we be having some good conversations. So, um,
Yes, yes. We got some good questions in there too. I don't know if we'll be able to answer the questions because I don't know if we're qualified, but there were a few questions that people had that I think we should touch on if we
yeah.
can. If we can.
So yeah, I mean, we can start through creation because there was a few days that we were actually just in creation for a while. It felt like
Yeah.
we
And
were in
that was
creation for a whole
also
week.
when I feel like I don't know if people are falling off because I think people are reading, but I
Hmm.
think they're falling off on the comments because that
Yeah.
first 2 or 3 days, people were it was like 20 comments.
Scroll, scroll,
I
scroll.
was like, whoa. And now it's like it's a few.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of it is is very expository. So whenever
Yeah,
we're
some of
reading,
it
it's
is
like,
like, what we
okay,
gonna
that's
say?
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
okay, cool. Like that's good to know for later. Um,
hmm
but yeah, all up in creation, I was like, so God did what now? And
Yeah.
he did what when?
Yes.
And um I guess one thing for me is like the earth was nothing. And the whole thing was just like God saying this and that and the other, right? And so when we get to Genesis 2 and 3, because I know you and I had talked about this,
Mm-hmm.
if he made man, or if he said, let us make man in our image in Genesis 1, then come Genesis 3, like, how did he make man in
Right.
Genesis 3?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was talking to my husband about it because I've had a few theories on it. Because, like, on one hand, it was like he spoke it in the sense of he speaks those things that are not as though they are. So he spoke that in Genesis 1 as it um being the will of what's supposed to happen, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
actually manifested in his physical creating of man in Genesis 3. But
So
then,
basically, like a plan, but not necessarily the execution of the plan. Maybe.
right,
Okay.
but then that didn't track with at the end of the seventh day he rested because it was finished. Because if it was finished, then he
Right.
wouldn't have gone back to do something else.
Ah. Mhm. Mhm.
And so then I was like, maybe Genesis 1 is like the table of contents,
Mhm.
and then 2 through the rest of the creation is the actual like chapters
Does that check
of the book.
too? Do you think?
It
I don't
checks
know.
more than the first theory.
I have heard a theory, but I mean, all these are theories, right? And theories you
Right.
can't prove. I heard a theory, and I'm trying to remember where I read this now. It may have been on a commentary, or it may have been, maybe I just heard it, that the beginning of Genesis, where we see, where we're like confused about, well, you said you made man in your own image, male and female, but then, I'm confused. And it said that the author is actually a different author. Like that
Right.
little is like a different author, and then, but I don't know how they chose to just put it all together. That's probably another topic on how they decided how to put it together. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's a theory though. Maybe it's
It is.
just,
Yeah, there's multiple theories
it's
because
just
it's
like
like,
two different people saying, "Hey, he made man and woman," and then somebody decides to go a little further and say, "Well, this is how he made man and woman, and this is what
right.
I mean, who knows? Honestly, because there's people who get confused about, well, Adam and Eve were the first humans, but then they have children, right? And you would think
Mhm.
that now it's only like 4 people on Earth, but then
Right.
Cain goes
Then
and
he
there's like
goes
people, there's like
and gets
people,
married,
and there's like a city, and you're like, huh?
and you're like,
Which I put nothing. God could do anything, so of course, not everything is in the Bible, right? So maybe we have an account of him making the first man and woman, but maybe he made a whole bunch of other ones, and we just didn't write that down. I think that's also possible.
that is also possible.
I think it is.
Because there's always stuff that we're never like. There's stuff in the Bible that we're never gonna know for sure. We can
Yeah.
only speculate.
Hmm.
Um, and as we read, we might find the answer to this. So,
Right.
like, of what we've read so far, these are our theories of the Genesis 1:1 or Genesis 1 and then Genesis 3 making of man.
Hmm.
Um, I think the Arthur thing is a little bit more plausible because Moses wrote Genesis. Am I right? Is that right?
I believe so. You know what's funny? I read something that was like Moses wrote the first five books, but then I read something else that it was like it's most likely that he wrote Genesis, and I was like, so now y'all saying, I mean, I guess he's just the most likely. Maybe they can't be for sure, but
Maybe.
maybe the writing is very similar to the other ones. So that
Mhm.
that's how they do a lot sometimes. So they're like, if the
Yeah.
writing is similar, they'll just be like, that got to be him. So I'm not sure, because I always wonder when I first found out that Moses wrote Genesis. I'm like, so did God just reveal the whole history to him, or was it history passed down from generations? Or I read that he possibly had collected tablets and stuff and then put it all together for his people so they knew their history. I mean, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure maybe Adam wrote down some stuff. I don't know.
Oh, and correction, he made man in Genesis 2, not Genesis 3. My bad.
Oh yeah, because Genesis 3 is when everything falls apart.
Yeah. Um.
Hmm.
So I guess that okay. So in Psalms, I liked how the Bible plan kind of inserts other other passages that coincide with what's going on chronologically.
Hmm.
So when it inserted in Psalms 103, no, Psalms 104.
I think it's
Um
Psalms, yeah, 104 and Psalms 8, I think, that they put
yeah,
together. Hmm.
yeah, when it was talking about I think it was David wrote about the creation.
Yes.
And I've never thought about creation this way, and it was so beautifully written. I'm trying to find what day it was on because
I want to
um
say that was day 2, I think. Let me
okay, so
look. I think that was day 2 because I want to say we did
yep,
it was
it
like
was day
Psalm
2.
8, Psalm 104, and like
John
John 1.
1. Mm-hmm.
So they because they were trying to, I guess, with John 1 to show like that's in chronological order. Jesus
Yeah.
is there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Um
think that was day 2.
yeah, it was day 2. So in Psalms 104, I when I read through it, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like this is great poetry. David is awesome at that. So the first time through it was just like, oh, this is really pretty. And then when I read it again, something that stood out to me was that it was the placement of who was doing all of these things. Like it wasn't just that these things were happening. So in Genesis we often see like, oh, when God said it, it was so, right? And all of these things
Yeah.
started happening. But when you realize that I guess in Psalms 104 verse 5, when it said you placed the world on its foundation so it would never be moved, you
Mm-hmm.
clothed the earth with floods of water that covered even the mountains. At your command the water fled,
Mm.
at the sound of your thunder it hurried away. So understanding that it's God that holds everything together,
Yeah.
like our whole universe, our world, everything. In verse 10 it says you make springs pour water into the ravines, so streams gush down from the mountains. They provide water for all the animals, and the wild donkeys quench their thirst.
Mm.
And so whenever okay, I'm gonna back up because my church is doing I guess an intensive class like once a month on the names of God,
Okay.
and the name that I'm gonna teach in October is El Shaddai. And
Mm.
when I was studying it, this chapter or this book and this chapter and verse or whatever stood out to me because El Shaddai is two words. El, the root word of Elohim that we see in Genesis, and
Mm.
then Shaddai, which is the root word Shad, which has the root word Shad, which um, kind of expresses this idea of a mother nursing their child. So El Shaddai is the creator who can create something from nothing, and that supplies everything that's needed to sustain life. And that sustenance of life really came out in these verses. It's like God doesn't, like whatever God does for you isn't an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like it's a
Mm.
pre-thought before you even needed it. And
Ooh.
so seeing this in creation, that God caused his creation to produce what its creation needed to sustain life. It wasn't that one day like water just decided to gush. Like no, God
Right.
made the springs pour water into the ravines so that the donkeys could drink.
Yeah.
He made the trees and the branches so that the birds could nest in them. Like he made
Mhm.
the produce from the earth so that the humans could eat. So
Yeah.
all of these
Everything is
things were
working
happening.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Everything
so
is
even the
already there
small
for you.
things, like even the
Hmm.
small things of like um birds flying in a certain direction has a reason. It's never just because, like, you're not here just because, you're here for a reason, and
Yes.
God will cause you to produce what you were put here to do.
Hmm. That's wonderful.
Yes.
I think it is, because it's like when you think of all that, right? It's like
Mm,
everything is in place. There's food for you to eat. There's water. Every little thing is thought of. And then it brings me to, I want to say it was in Psalm 8 that same day, where David's like, who is like, I was like basically expressing how small of he is as a human. And he's
mm-hmm.
like, I cannot believe, God, that you think of me, you think of the birds, you think of all this stuff. Like, he's just like, are you serious? Like, this is crazy. That's how I feel. Like, in modern day, he's just like, what? Like, you really be thinking about me, of
Yeah,
me, of all people. Like, why? Why? You're a guy. You are mighty. You can do whatever you want, but yet you think about everything that I need before I even know I need it. I mean, that's enough for a little praise break right there. That's
for
just,
sure. Because
yeah.
God sees the end from the beginning. So when we
Yeah.
ask Him to
And that
do
is insane
something,
to me. That's honestly crazy.
it
Like,
is.
what? Like, I've been seeing it in my own life, and I'm just like, I don't even know why people don't don't believe in you. I just don't get
I don't get it. I don't get it. Or I also don't get how people can believe in the creation but not the creator.
it.
That always
We,
baffles me.
you know, I have a theory on that. We don't have to touch on it too much. We'll probably touch on it another day.
Yeah.
But people do not want accountability. So it's easier to believe in creation than just be like, oh, we just, boop, we popped out of nowhere, and or we popped out of billions of years and we started as a cell, but you can't tell me how the cell started. You know,
Right.
doesn't make any sense. So people don't want accountability. So if you don't have anyone to answer to, you can do whatever you want, but you can still draw from nature. You can still ground yourself by wearing no shoes on the earth, and you can do all this stuff, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be accountable to anybody. But
Yep.
that's another topic for another day.
Having a form of godliness but denying the power.
Woo! That's scripture right there,
But
Hunty.
that's heavy, so we gonna talk about it another
That's scripture. Hey.
time. What's something that you got? It could be in creation or anything after.
In creation, let me see here. Let me read some of the comments people had,
Oh yes.
because there was a lot of comments in creation. So let me read. The first one from, I'm going to say just the first names. From Joe Roro, he said, he is an almighty God, creator of everything, the first artist. He created all these beautiful things in the earth, and still something was missing. Us, humans, that he created in his perfect image, and we are all fearfully and wonderfully made. God really loves us.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That artist part, because man, there's so many details. Like
Yeah.
everything is so detailed. There's nothing that is missing, nothing that is broken.
Yeah,
And
and it's
that's
not done in
good.
such a like. Wait, I think I'm echoing. Do you hear me echoing? I hear myself echoing. I don't know why. I don't like it though. Hello? Can you hear me?
I can
Okay.
hear you.
All right, sorry guys. Um it's not like he just did it in such a way that it's just so super, like he could have just made everything boxes. Like he could have made a mountain like in the shape of a rectangle, or just something
Right.
just like super bland, but he made everything super like if you go out to just nature, it's gorgeous. You're just like,
Yeah.
you're in awe. Like that's when you really see God's creation, in my opinion. Is like when you go out into just other parts of the world that are not so industrialized, you realize that it's like, and I wonder, I mean, it doesn't matter why, but I'm like, why would he go through the trouble of making everything so intricate, of so many types of animals, so many different types of bodies of water, rivers, streams, creeks, like oceans, seas, bays, like how did he carve out this land? Like it's just like,
Yeah. And
that's
then like now that I'm thinking about it, as you're saying it, there's certain bodies of water that have carved out the land further. So it's not
Mhm.
like his art is never finished.
Yeah.
It's finished, yes, but it's like it
It's
continues
still
to
going.
evolve. And I'm hesitant to use the word evolve because the
Yeah.
evolution conversation, but it's like
But I mean,
this.
evolution is like, I feel like evolution is real, but evolution is from God. God, anybody can evolve. You evolve as a person. I mean, I don't have any problem believing that perhaps God made giraffes with a shorter neck, and then somehow over time their necks grew longer because they were reaching something else. God can make that happen. I just attribute it all to God. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
That's a good point.
But
That's a
speaking of
good point.
water, where we missed, we still in creation. First of all, I'm not even on the firmament part. Did we notice that before he created anything, that his spirit was just hovering over the deep? It The waters was already there, right? I'm not reading that wrong. The water is there already. Now, did we miss a step where God created water and it's just not written down, or is water somehow like? I mean, I don't know. To me, it just like spoke on how powerful water can be. Like water can
Mm,
destroy, water can bring peace. Water is such a symbol of so many things. But I'm like, what is the significance of water to God? That
mm.
water's already there. Water's already like around his spirit. He doesn't have to create it. I I didn't get any answers from that from any commentaries.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I saw anything
I don't know if
either.
anybody has to answer that, and it's okay. But
Right.
I'm saying is that water. I mean, I mean, I don't know. Like it brings me to baptism and all these different
Mhm.
ways that water is really used.
Yeah, water is
So
a symbol like all throughout the Bible.
yeah, and I didn't even catch that the water was there already until probably this time around when I read it again, and I was like, wait, so he never created the water. There's never a day where he's like, I created the water, and yeah. And then we can go into the water being above the firmament. That had always went over my head. I don't think I knew realized what the firmament was.
Can you explain that more?
So the firmament, from what I have gathered, is the sky or the
Mhm.
heavens, however you want to call it. So when the water was there, God said, I want to make a separation of the waters. So there's water here, and he's putting something in between to put waters above. So at this point in creation, after Adam and Eve, they have children, up until Noah's Ark, they are literally living in like a hydro dome, like a hydrosphere type of situation. It never has rained. There's dew on the ground. Um, and so they live in a type of environment we have never lived in before, which I just got this time reading the Bible. So I wonder how the environment was. How do you think that? You think it was humid, or you think it was like real nice?
I was just about to say that because I'm like, if there's condensation, there should be humidity.
Yeah, but I wonder if it was. I don't know. I wonder if it was nice though.
Mm.
I bet it was nice. I bet it was nice for a little bit, or I
Yeah,
don't
because I
know.
mean, there's
Maybe it
there's
got
not
more
like the
as.
protection between the sun and the humans would be there.
Oh, do you think that provided more of a protection from the sun, and now we're just baking?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I feel that because it's getting real hot, man.
Yeah, it
Getting
is.
real hot.
All the
I
time.
don't think it was ever supposed to be this hot.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. I really don't.
I don't think so either.
Um, but yeah, so I did want to touch on the water situation. That I think water is really important to God.
Yeah.
That's what I got from that. I think that it's almost like a part of him, but I don't want to say it's like a part of him in a way like he's made of water because he's spirit.
Right.
But I feel like water is important to God.
Yeah,
I just
we'll
don't know
find
why.
out why. I feel like because Jesus touches on a lot of watery things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like by the end of this plan, we'll understand a little bit more about water. Because I
Yeah, I
know,
think so.
like water spring, like, spring up. Um, there's a lot of connection to
Yes. Jesus
the
is the living
spirit,
water,
and he's
right?
the living water, right? And,
Yes.
if you drink his water, then, then you thirst no more, and
Exactly.
things
So
of that nature.
we're gonna tie that all back together.
Yeah,
We're gonna
we're gonna
tie
come
that all
back to
back
that one.
together.
Um,
Are we still in creation? Are we still
yeah,
in
I mean,
creation?
sin had to enter the world.
Mm, mm.
And
I could
okay,
I could probably talk about that all day, honestly.
I can too, but it's like, I mean, I know you have this question too because you've done a live on it, but it's like, why a snake for one thing?
Yeah, I still
Um,
don't know why the snake. I'm not
out of all
sure.
the animals that you could choose, why a snake? And something else that I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I don't know if snakes' eyesight was an evolutionary development.
Hmm.
Because you know how like snakes don't have good eyesight. So
Well, maybe they don't have good eyesight now because there's a bunch of dust in their eyes.
maybe.
Maybe they used
Maybe.
to have. But what's weird is in the scripture it says that let me see if I can compare it if the same word is cunning in all of them. But in my version, it was saying that the snake was the most cunning, or the serpent was the most cunning of all the animals. Which I'm like, okay, well, what makes a serpent cunning? But what's weird is also that when me and my mom looked up serpent in that verse, it means enchantress. But I'm like, what kind of animal is an enchantress? So then I got more confused, basically.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But okay, so let me see. Now
That's
the
interesting.
serpent was the most cunning of all the wild animals. So let's compare it to a few other translations and see. So the ESV says crafty. So does the Amplified. So does NIV. The KJV says subtle. That's that's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
NLT says shrewdest.
Mm-hmm.
The Message says clever, and the New King James Version says cunning. But I still don't have my answer on why the snake. Like, did Satan know that he could get into the snake more easily? Like, is an ox more righteous than a snake? Like, I just don't understand. I
Hmm.
don't know. Like, why the snake? Why could? What do snakes symbolize? Maybe snakes. I don't. I mean, I feel like maybe a snake symbolizes something, like some kind of evil or some kind of darkness. But why would God create animals that are evil? I mean, I guess he created humans that are evil, so I don't know.
Right. So, um, I guess I would have to start with the question of like, are angels created, or
Mm.
like, do they have a beginning?
I
Because
think so. I thought
Lucifer was
so.
an angel first. So it's like,
Yeah. I thought that
um,
he created them, but you know what? Is there scripture to back that up? I might be wrong.
I don't know. I
But
don't think so.
they can't this is the thing. I feel like if they're not created beings, then they're like eternal. Are they eternal beings like God? Or can they die? I don't know.
I don't think angels can die. I think they
Maybe so
have
maybe they are eternal, but
I
maybe
think they
not in the
are
same
eternal.
sense of God, because they're not on the level of God.
No. But I do think they are eternal
Yeah.
without the omnipotence.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. I get, yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Because that is kind of hard, especially think about Satan.
Hmm.
He's like, I'm eternal, but I can't be omnipotent. Why? And then he started getting out of line.
Right. So I think they are eternal, but they lack omnipotence, omnipresence.
Okay.
Because Satan can't be everywhere
Yeah, he sure can't.
at the same time. Um, so yeah, because I was gonna say, well, Lucifer was the angel of music and got out of line and had to be cast out of heaven. And so it's like, if there was, this is gonna sound so not okay, but I'm gonna work it out, guys. This is a
Okay.
workshop. This is a workshop. Don't freak out on me, okay?
I know. Y'all better keep it
Um,
calm in the comments wherever we put this.
right. Please keep calm. So is both good and no, I can't say that. I can't say that because God is only good. And
Yeah.
so it's like, well, then where did Lucifer get the evil?
I don't
Do
know.
angels have free will?
I think they have free will like us. I think they also have free will because I believe the angels have the power to choose whether to serve God or not. I think they were probably created to serve God, and I think we were also created to serve God. But I think that they have the choice because what Satan left was like a third of the angels, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have to make that decision. So I think
Right.
that they also have free will. I don't know. I mean, I do know why God would give us free will because who wants a bunch of like people think like atheists will say that God's a narcissist, but he's not a narcissist because a narcissist would have made a whole bunch of robots to just serve
Exactly.
him all day and
Yeah.
worship him all day. He wouldn't give you a choice because narcissists, trust me, they'll give you a choice. They crazy. So,
I
yeah,
guess because true worship is a choice. And so if
it
the
is.
angels are in heaven worshiping God, it would have to be a choice.
But I do wonder because I know we keep going back and forth on this because I want to find some scripture to back this up. Because what I'm thinking is how are they not created? But where were the angels in the beginning? I mean, he did say, "Let us make men in our own image," but he was
That
talking to Jesus in the Holy Spirit. I think that's my
okay.
belief.
So
So where were they at?
I actually okay, so thank you for bringing that up because
Yes.
I was listening to a seminary lecture and they were talking about creation
Hmm.
and the professor was asking, well, they were talking about the let us make man in our image, that verse, but they were talking about why, well, he was talking about why God made male and female, why it had to be um plural, a plurality there. And because if it's in God's image, how why would it be plural, basically? Why would it be
Right.
both male and female if it was in God's image? And he said that for it to be God's image, there has to be plurality and unity because God
Hmm.
is three in one. So then someone else asked, okay, so then the us in that statement is God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And he says, no, because in the Old Testament, when it was written in a polytheistic environment. And
Okay.
so they were they were staying away from the Trinitarian conversation within the Old Testament because they were going up against other religions with multiple gods. And so
And they
to
didn't want it to
explain
be
God,
confused.
right. So they had to explain God in a very monotheistic way, even though God is three persons, but
Mm,
it's plurality and unity. So he was saying that the us in that situation is actually God and the heavenly hosts, so the angels.
got it. I got it.
So,
Hey.
and that tracks with whenever the angels are referred to as sons of God,
Yeah.
because they are an extension of him, not
Mm.
not they are like God, but
Yeah.
not God. They are definitely subordinate,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Of course.
even to us. But um, but yeah, they're they're not omnipresent or omnipotent. They don't know because yeah, so because they don't know the end from the beginning.
Mm-mm.
They can't.
Yeah.
But
Well.
yeah, so I was
Hmm.
like, huh, that's
Okay.
interesting.
Um.
Yeah.
Got it. Where were we at? We were in Genesis 3 still.
Yes, we were talking about
The
sin.
fall of man. Oh yeah, we were talking about the snake, but that's how we got on the angels. We were talking
Right,
about
because we're talking about
the
Satan.
devil. Yeah. Let's move a little further into.
Yes.
Wait, I don't know. That might have to. You know what? That might. I might save Adam for the intercessory prayer segment.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Actually,
Yes.
I'm gonna save him
Okay.
because yeah, I'm gonna
Mhm.
save him for that. But I do want to touch on in Genesis 3. I feel like this is just God's nature. It could be something to point to Jesus. But I think it points to Jesus. I think it does. After they sin, right? After they eat the apple, they're naked. God finds them. He acts like he don't know what they did. Once they confess what they did, he sacrifices an animal. I would love to be a fly on the wall watching God sacrifice an animal.
Man.
I just would love to be there and
Because that
see.
happened again with, I think, Gideon.
And let's talk about this also too. When God keeps coming down to talk to people, I believe that he was coming down in the form of a man. I don't think he was just like a woo, like just like a mirage. I don't know, but I read somewhere about when because there's a few times in Genesis that the Lord shows up
Right.
and he's
Yeah.
in the
All of
form
these
of a man.
Christophanies. Yeah.
And so I'm like, is this not Jesus? Like when God comes as a man, is he not Jesus? But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's too much. Or does
Yeah.
God just come as a man, any kind of man, and he's just like, I'm the Lord. I'm not Jesus yet. like, huh? I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like in the garden, they heard him walking. So he's in the
Right.
he's walking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's yeah. So, but I think this points to Jesus when he kills the animal, a sacrifice was made, blood was shed. Blood is always shed when sin is being atoned for.
Mm-hmm.
And then he clothes them and and basically I feel like he tells them it's going to be okay. And I feel like this can point to Jesus, his ultimate sacrifice for us. He shed his blood
Mm-hmm.
and we are now like clothed in grace and
Yeah.
mercy. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool. That's the first time I got that from reading this. I was like, wait, he clothed them. I almost cried reading that because I was like, oh God, you're just so awesome. You just make me
Mm-hmm.
clothes, even though I'm like stupid. Like,
Right. Because love covers a multitude of sins. And it's
yeah.
like they were naked and now they're
They were
covered
naked and ashamed.
and
Naked and
ashamed.
ashamed. But
Uh,
they were naked before and they just were chilling.
I didn't know.
Like,
I didn't
could you
know.
imagine if we had never sinned and we were just all walking around naked? We wouldn't know, but I mean,
Nah,
geez.
we wouldn't know at all. Because there wouldn't be lust in the world. There wouldn't
Yeah, it would just
be
be walking around. So
just
God
walking around.
intended us to be naked. That's the part that sometimes confuses me. I'm like, well, God intended us to be naked, but he didn't want us to know we were naked.
I feel like there's a like an underlying, I guess, metaphor almost, or an image there where it's like before sin, we were able to be like no holds bar with God. Like we were
Mm-hmm.
able to just be open to God, and vulnerable and intimate with God with absolutely nothing between us.
Yeah.
And then once we've sinned, we now see that there's nothing between us, almost like, okay, now I'm afraid. Like they were saying, they were afraid that God was going to do something to them, or that God was going to be upset with them, or whatever, because there was something now saying, well, I'm exposed in front of a very holy being. And
Mm,
so it's like we were both holy, and then now that I've sinned, I'm no longer holy. But they didn't know that they were no longer holy. It was just this
yeah.
idea of like there's something different now. And um
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they were clothed in glory. I don't know if, or like they were clothed in God's presence of some sort. Like they were clothed with something to the point where they weren't, I guess, like cold or
Wait,
or
after when he gave them the clothes, they were clothed with the animal.
before.
Oh,
Like,
before? Oh, before? I mean, I don't know. I never thought about it before. I just know they didn't have clothes on. I mean, I guess maybe they were clothed in, like you said, maybe his presence, or maybe God's presence was just all around all the time and it just felt good outside. I mean, I'm not sure.
yeah,
But
I
there
don't
were
know.
no need for clothes until they, you know.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna let Adam, we're gonna let him
Yeah,
slide for right now.
we're gonna
We're gonna talk about
save
it later.
Adam for our intercessory prayer segments. We can move on if you want. I think the next. Do you have anything after Genesis 3? I did. My next note is like on Genesis 8.
Is that Cain and Abel?
No, but we could talk about Cain and Abel because
So
I think they're very interesting.
something that my husband mentioned, was how God dealt with Cain.
Hmm.
And so like God was like, I mean, you know what to do. And if you would just do what you're supposed to do, I'd accept what you're offering.
Right.
Like it's not like God was asking him something that he could not provide.
Yeah, I
Because
think
when
he
I
was prideful. I think some or
yeah,
something because it's like you want to do it again. People want to do what they want to do, not what God want to do. He wants to do what he wants to do, and then got jealous of his brother and so mad. His brother didn't do anything to him. It literally
right,
killed his brother.
right. It was all
That's
resentment because
that's on another level.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
The
crazy.
crazy part was is like, well then what was the proper sacrifice? Was it always a blood sacrifice? Because Abel was a sheep herder. So like he tended to
Yeah.
the sheep. And so it was easy for him to slaughter the or to sacrifice a sheep. But for
Mm,
Abel, he tended the field. And so was it just that there was the first fruits, or because Abel did give the first of
what
the
I think it is, and what I've read a few, because I had the same question because I know that blood atones for sin, but there's different types of sacrifices. Like in
right,
the law, there's a grain sacrifice. So obviously it's acceptable to sacrifice vegetables or food or whatever. But I think it was about the heart placement of the sacrifice. Like it's like, say you tithe or something, right? And you tithe from a place of faith, or you tithe from just, "Oh, I'm supposed to do this, out of a religious reason." Well, God doesn't like religious reasons. So I think Abel's sacrifice was a sacrifice, at least God saw it as a sacrifice of faith. I'm not sure how many sheep he had. I mean, it was a pure and spotless one. I think it was the firstborn.
yeah,
Firstborns are very highly regarded, especially in this culture. And then Cain, I mean, who knows if it was even the best fruit that he had? Was it? I'm not sure if it said. In
right. You're
vegetables,
right.
maybe
Actually,
it
I
wasn't.
pulled it up. It said when it was time for harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lamb of his flock.
Hmm.
So there was a sense of worship difference
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
And
he's just bringing some, like I don't
yeah,
know what would have been a better sacrifice of his fruits and vegetables. Maybe it could have been maybe a fruit or a vegetable that's rare, or maybe it could have been one that looked the best that he could have probably sold to people. Like, it maybe he gave him all the bruised apples. And then it's like, bruh, you just here because you think you're supposed to be here. I don't want it. I don't want it. Bring me
dang.
something else that actually
Yeah,
shows your worship instead of just you going through the motions. That's how I feel it was. But I feel
yeah,
like he got way too mad.
yeah,
Like, why are you are really mad. Like, you're mad at God, but you kill your brother instead. Now, I don't know. We weren't there. Maybe Abel was making fun of him. Maybe everybody knew that his
right.
sacrifice wasn't, maybe it was common knowledge. Hey, your sacrifice wasn't accepted by God, bro. Looking a little
Maybe,
tighten up, and maybe he just got upset, but I
maybe.
feel like he took it too far.
Yeah. And so when God was like, I mean, if you know, like why are you so upset? You know, if you did what was right, if you did what I asked you to do, basically, I feel like this was something that they did on a regular occasion
Yeah. Yeah.
um uh because God was like, I mean, if you did what was going to be accepted, I would have accepted it. But then God said, But if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master. And my husband was like, God didn't curse Cain just for giving the wrong sacrifice
Mhm.
or the wrong gift of worship. He said, if you don't do right, what's going to come later is meant to destroy you, but I don't
Mhm.
want that to happen for you. That doesn't have to happen for you. Basically, like, you
Yeah.
have a choice here. Are you going to choose life, or are you going to choose death? I don't want death to happen for you, but like, you have the chance to be the master of this sin. You
Yeah.
can overcome this sin. Are you going
Mhm.
to? And then now Cain has the choice, and he chooses to allow sin
He
to
let it
be,
in all the way.
yeah, to subdue him and to master him instead of him being the sin's master. And then um that sin that was eager to control him was ended up being revenge and murder.
Mhm.
um and the thing was that after that, like, I expected God to be like, well, like, guess you done messed up. Like, I'm gonna kick you even further out of the garden. Like,
Yeah.
everybody else already kicked out, but like, bye. But even the way that he handled after Cain did sin, um, that he's like, okay, I have to send you. I have to. There has to be consequences.
Yeah. Has to be.
There has to be consequences, but I'm not going to allow anyone to kill you or to put a hand on you. I'm not going to allow someone to bring death upon you.
Yeah, and fall into the same sin too. It's
Right.
like I don't even know if it was
Yeah.
all. It was about Cain protecting Cain, but it was also about, like, I'm not about to just let y'all just go around killing each other. Like, I'm gonna put a mark on you so that if somebody does kill you, it's like, just know I'm gonna punish them even harsher because they're just falling into sin more and they're sinning based on your. It's just too much. Like,
Hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
I think he. I mean, of course, it's all grace and mercy. Of course, like, I don't think. I think God gives us so many chances that he's not just gonna just annihilate you right there. When he could literally just annihilate everyone, and I'm sure he could start over every time. I'm
Every
sure
time.
if he wanted to, he could hit the reset button every time. But it's like, I don't think he really want to do that. Like, I don't
Like,
know. I don't.
God is full of grace and mercy. And so even within the Old Testament, I didn't really notice until we started reading it straight through, is that even in the times that we see what we consider to be harsh punishment of God's people, there's still so much grace and so much mercy in it. Cause
Mhm.
so often, like, people who read through the Old Testament and then try to justify it in their brain in relation to the grace that we see in Jesus in the New Testament, people are like, oh, like, God is actually really, really mean, but Jesus loves us so much that he's not going to let God the Father be this mean to us. And
Mm.
that's never the case. God's plan from the beginning was for Jesus to come and atone for our sins. And
Yeah.
so, like, that
So he
shows
could be
enough
with
that,
us
say
at the
again?
end. So he could be with us at the end of the day, because he can't be
Exactly.
close to us because we're terrible and he's
Yeah.
holy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like his plan was for us to be with him always and for him to be with us always. And
Hmm.
so there's so much grace and mercy where, like, yeah, he flooded the earth with Noah, but the fact that he even left Noah as a remnant of
Hmm.
his people to continue meant that he wasn't there was grace there. There was grace that there was still humanity on the earth, and
Yeah.
he didn't start completely over. We see the flood as this huge reset, and it was a spiritual reset for
Yeah.
sure. Almost like he baptized the earth. Um,
Yeah. But it didn't even, to me, it was like, it was a reset, but it wasn't a complete reset, because a complete reset would have been demolishing all those mountains, taking the earth completely away, the
yep.
land completely away. What died was everything that breathed life, like breathed air.
Mm-hmm.
So the sea animals was still chilling.
Yeah.
So they didn't get started. over.
Right.
So it wasn't. It was a reset, like you said. I like how you said that he baptized the earth
Yeah.
because think about how bad it had to be though. Like
Yeah.
like for him to be like, bruh,
And then
y'all.
after the flood, it just continued to get worse.
Yeah, he probably was like, dang, that could, I mean, for him to make that plan and it was still bad, it must have been even worse. Like, I feel like it had to be Sodom and Gomorrah times 20, times 100. Or I guess he just made the promise that he just couldn't destroy us again.
Yeah.
Even if it got bad again. I don't know. But um yeah, I do like the baptism of the earth type of thing.
Yeah. I did a live on Noah and the I'm gonna try to remember because I have it in my notes somewhere, I feel like. But the number of days, so yeah, so the 40 days.
Oh
So
yeah, I think I screenshotted that. I think you put it in the what's that called? In the thing.
I think so too.
In the notes. I'm gonna pull it up.
Um
Let me see
so
if I
we
can
see a
screenshot.
lot of the 40 days and nights or the 40 years that motif happening throughout the Bible. So the flood lasted for 40
Yes,
days.
I have it.
Like it rained for 40 days. And then you see Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days and nights. You see
Mm-hmm.
the Israelites in the desert for 40 years. So you see this
Mm-hmm.
number 40, and I looked it up, and in Jewish culture there's a ceremonial cleansing within this number 40. And um I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not even gonna try. But it is a sense of baptism in a way of
Mm-hmm.
spiritual
Like a
renewal.
purification. Oh,
Yeah, it's a spiritual renewal to then on the other side of whatever trial or tribulation you come out better.
yeah. Yeah.
And so I think there was a an issue with man thinking that they no longer needed God, that God had to baptize, um
Mm.
because there was, like, after that there was still a sense of I need God, I just don't know where he is.
Yeah.
But before that it was the Tower of Babel. Or was that before or after the flood?
No,
Was
that's
that
after the
after?
flood.
That's after the flood. Goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got back to the evil right after.
Right
Like
after.
like literally after the flood. Noah is still righteous at this point, at least. He
Hmm.
makes a sacrifice. I thought that was really important. That another thing that I used to miss a lot, or I feel like they don't teach at Sunday school. I don't know. That as soon as he got out of the boat, and they find dry land or whatever, that he builds an altar to make sacrifices to God, which is like, which is really why God made the promise.
Mm.
I think. I feel like he made the sacrifice. God smells it. He's like, that's nice. He's like, you know what? I will never flood the earth again. I like. Let me see if I can pull it up because I'm like, when I read it, I was like, wait. I think that's the whole reason. Like, if Noah had never made the sacrifice, I don't know if God would have made a promise and put his rainbow in the sky. I'm not sure. I mean, God can do
Hmm.
whatever he wants, but I'm just not sure if that's how it goes down.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
That's an interesting theory for sure. um
Yes.
Let me see if I can find it.
And the baptism of the earth also still speaks to how water is really important to God. And he uses water and he's just, let me see if I can find where they got off. Let me see. Yeah, it says, then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, he said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of human beings, even though
Mm.
the inclination of the human heart is evil.
What chapter is that in?
That's in chapter 8. Chapter 8, verse 20 through Like
Mm.
22 is the end.
Yeah, it does sound like if he hadn't done it,
And then
God would have just
also,
been dropping mass floods like every couple years.
I mean, who knows? I mean, who really knows? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what made him think that, but it seems to me that when he smelled it, he said, like he, not that it occurred to him, because I don't think that things occur to God like they occur to us, but I think that he
Right.
was just like, you know what? I ain't gotta, do all that stuff. And then another side note that I took, which doesn't have anything to do with really anything, it's just a fun fact that this is when seasons came into place.
Yeah, I was just looking at that, like the cold
Yeah.
and heat, summer, winter, day and
Yeah.
night.
So apparently they was just, not only living in the aquadome, but apparently once that, we totally missed the firmament releasing the water to flood the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, that water that's above the firmament, it's gone now. The flood
Right.
happened.
The flood happened.
Surprise. But I'm wondering if now, since now that's gone, that causes the seasons, right?
Mm.
Like people talk about climate change now. Think about them back then. Think about knowing that it was like climate change is real.
Because seasons do happen based on proximity to the sun.
Right.
So because the Earth is on an axis as it on a tilt,
Hmm.
as it turns is what creates the seasons. So
Right. So
if the
before
firmament was
was
protection
it
from the sun,
yeah. Before though,
now
was it still spinning and tilting? It's just we was covered in water.
yes,
Or you know what I'm saying?
that
Like,
makes sense.
how does that look from space? The water coming in the earth.
Hmm.
Hmm. That's an interesting one.
It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting
Very
thought for
interesting
sure.
thought. We're diving deep here. We're
Yeah.
diving deep. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to know that there were not always seasons, but now there are seasons. It says, as long as the earth endures. I think that's a good, interesting word too. As long as the earth endures. Like, endures how? Like it's one day, like the earth is literally falling apart. Does it mean like when the earth is just gone, or it means when the earth is just not working anymore? Like right now, when we basically have no seasons, or the seasons are backwards,
I
you
think
know?
that's just in Texas because a lot of people be having some adequate seasons throughout the U.S.
That's true. But I had heard, I was listening to this one podcast and they were from New York and they were like, that it was like the hottest summer they've ever had. And then their winter was like not as cold as it usually is. So I'm like, what is going on? But I don't know. I'm from Texas, so I don't even know what winter is until this last winter
Right.
where it
We have
froze.
hot, hot, and then ice.
Yeah. And I never want to see snow again after
Me
that
either.
Texas freeze ever again. I don't want to see snow. I'm good. I'm from the South. I like it. I
I'm
can
good.
survive in 105-degree weather.
Yes,
It's fine.
I'm fine. Completely
I'm
fine.
totally fine.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess after that we can go to Abraham.
Oh yeah, we can get to Abraham. I like because when we go to Abraham, I could still touch on Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
no, let's back up and talk about Lot. Well, we can talk about Abraham.
Lot
We
is
need to
in
get
the
to Lot.
intercessory prayer too, but
Yeah,
we can still talk about. Well, should we talk about the man in Sodom and Gomorrah in the intercessory prayer too?
for
Maybe we'll say
sure.
maybe
They
we'll
was
save Sodom and
wilding.
Gomorrah. Yeah, let's save Sodom and Gomorrah and we'll go into Abraham. Um, what do you think about Abraham? Or do we call
So
him Abram first? He's not Abraham yet.
he, I'll probably switch it back and forth depending on what part. So okay, I have read Abraham's story so
Mhm.
many times throughout this year, and
Okay.
it wasn't until this last time reading it that I understood why God chose Abraham.
Mm.
And
Expound.
huh?
Keep going. Explain.
Okay. So Abraham is the perfect picture of, how can I say this? Partial obedience.
I like how you said partial.
Right. So you see this flawed human, and yes, his faith was counted to him as righteousness. What is righteous is only deemed by God. We can't be righteous just by actions. That's, a given for all of us. But and so we know that Abraham was a flawed human being. Um he was righteous, but he wasn't perfect. And
Yeah.
so throughout his lifetime, like, I read a commentary saying that God, the time that we see in, I think, Genesis 15 or 12, actually, no, it's 12, back when God first called Abraham and said, go to the land that I'll show you, like, leave the land of your family and go to the land that I've showed you, or will show you, and it's Canaan and whatnot, right? We find out in Acts through Stephen that God actually called Abraham before that moment that we see in Genesis. And it happened before his father died. And so after his father died was when he actually left Haran, and traveled to Canaan. So it's like the time that we see it is actually the second time that God said,
Okay.
leave your family.
Yeah.
And leave that place and go to the land of which I'll show you, or whatever. And then, so that was delayed obedience, right? So then he finally leaves, but then he takes Lot with him.
Yeah, you're supposed to leave your family, but you bring
You're
your
supposed to leave your
family.
family. So it causes unneeded frustration for him, because now he has to handle Lot and his personality and his issues and all of that, because Lot is selfish and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
so now you have the land that God told you to be in, Canaan, but now you have to split it up and say, okay, it's not big enough for the both of us to have our people, like, eating here and growing here and all that kind of stuff, whatever. So whatever, so Abraham said, whatever you take, I'll take the other half. If you take this, I'll take the other, whatever.
Yeah.
Lot was like, I'm gonna take the spot that looks real nice.
Walking by sight in that faith.
Exactly. And so it's like he's over here. You see this dichotomy between him and Abram, of Abraham walking in faith and him walking by sight. He ends up in Sodom and Gomorrah.
I have a little note on that because I read it recently. If you notice, Lot went to live near Sodom, right?
Mm-hmm.
He lived near Sodom, right? And then we still got Abram's story. There was like a war that broke out.
Yup.
Lot ended up getting kidnapped. Yeah. Lot get kidnapped. Abram obviously got a lot of people. He put together like 300 people to go fight. So I'm like, dang, people don't ever talk about how like Abram's like a warrior.
Oh yeah, no,
he probably was real fine and real muscular. And he was ready. So then once they rescue Lot, if you look later, let me see if it's what chapter it's in. Probably in 14 or 15. When you see Lot again, he's not living near Sodom, he living in Sodom. And we had to rescue you, and you gonna go back and live in Sin City. Not near it. Now you in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like what?
And I'm just like, bro, like,
what are you doing?
If you would have left Lot at home,
yeah, you should have left Lot at home.
Him so many times.
Leave him with his daddy, please.
Exactly. Like he should have been left at the house. And so
where is his daddy?
This is the same kind of thing happening throughout the entire story of Abraham, this delayed or partial obedience that causes him to have all of this unnecessary frustration leading up to the plan of God for him and the rest of his descendants. Because then after he saves Lot and meets Melchizedek, which Melchizedek is a whole section unto itself.
Yes. Because that is a section where we need to think about things that point to Jesus, because that's what he is.
Jesus is a high priest in the order of Melchizedek. So the high priests are in the order of the Levites, and so now it's saying that that Jesus is not a Levite priest.
No, yeah, he's in the order of Melchizedek, not Aaron.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's of the order of Melchizedek, and Melchizedek has no beginning, has no end. He shows up, he blesses Abram, which shows that he had more authority than Abram,
Mm-hmm.
because he was able to bless him.
Yes.
And then you just don't hear about him again. Like
And
he
he
doesn't
brings
have a
out bread
name.
and wine, like the
Exactly.
Lord's Supper or something. Yeah.
And Abram tithed to him, so there was a clear superior inferior situation between Melchizedek and Abram. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that was when God said, like, anything you want, I got you, basically, like, I am
Yeah.
your great reward.
Mm-hmm.
And then Abram's like, well, if you're gonna give me anything, I ain't got no son. And I just think it's really interesting that this whole time when God tells him that, like, I'm gonna give you descendants and you're gonna be the father of many nations, like, he married Sarah barren. Like, Sarah didn't, like, they didn't find out that Sarah was barren after God said they were gonna be, parents. Like, he married
Oh,
Sarah barren
I
because
never
it
thought
said,
about that.
it was like, I think it was like the whenever it was talking about the lineage of Adam or the lineage of Noah, like when it was like going through all of them,
Mm-hmm.
it said, and then Abram married Sarai, who couldn't have any children.
So why do you think I saw somebody actually asked a question? I'm trying to see if I can find it. One of the group members, what is that in Genesis 10? Is that, or maybe I didn't
Probably.
write it down. But she asked, is Sarai the first instance of infertility that we see in the Bible? And I think it is that's actually recorded, I guess. And then she also had
Yeah.
the question of why she was infertile. Was it due to God closing up her womb, as we've seen him do before, or was she experiencing some kind of health concern? I don't know. That was a
Because it
question we got.
that I think it was the first instance of infertility that we saw that was recorded,
Mm-hmm.
because the only other, I guess, birth that we see or that's recorded is Eve gave birth to two sons. Anyone
Yeah.
after that was like, this was the father begat, whatever, whoever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah. So
Um,
she might not be the first, but she's the first that we know, that we hear about.
right. And then after her, it seems like every woman in the line of Christ up until a certain point was barren.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you
I
had,
wonder what the significance of that is.
yeah, I feel like it's important somewhere. Part of me wants to
Mm-hmm.
say it's because it had to be God's planned baby. So in
Mm-hmm.
the
It
in the
will.
line of Christ, it had to have God's um ordination, almost like
Yeah.
God had to have ordained that birth leading up to Christ.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're right. It had to be in
Because
perfect timing and all that.
yeah. And also, like, it shows God's power in the sense of, like, I'm the one who gives life. Um
Yeah.
so I think it almost had to be a miracle for for the glory to be given to God and not just
Mm-hmm.
natural
Yeah.
things, because there's always a like a sister against a sister, or there's always division in regards
I
to
know.
this pregnancy situation. You have one woman who can have children and the other woman who can't,
Yeah.
and the woman who can't's waiting on God, and the woman who can is just popping out babies left and right. You see that with Leah and Rebecca. You see that with, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Leah and
And Rachel.
Rachel. You see that with Rebecca and the other one. I can't remember her name right now.
Rebecca
Um,
was Rebecca had a feud too with a sister. I just know Rebecca was shady. I can't remember if she had a sister or not. I remember she's just a shady person.
because
But
it was Isaac, right? So
Isaac married Rebecca.
yeah, and that was it. So I don't think
And
she had a
I
feud.
don't think Isaac had two wives. I don't remember.
I don't think she did. I don't think he did either. You're right.
I
But
don't think he did.
still had to wait for God to remember her. And there was a thing, like they were trying to have a baby and she was barren.
Mm.
And then she ends up having twins. And then
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
yeah, so you have Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, um Samuel's mom. I can't think of her name right now. But you had like this happening multiple times. And so I definitely think that that's on purpose. But but yeah, so you see this in Abram's story of like him taking things into his own hands, like only doing what God says to a point, right? So this part I did not even notice. What? So when there was the first time that Abram lied to some king that Sarah was his sister, so it's a half truth.
It's a half truth, but it's still deceitful.
It's still a lie. But he wasn't supposed to be in Egypt at all.
What was he supposed to be at?
He's supposed to be in Canaan.
Oh yeah.
So there was a famine, and then he went to Egypt to like get, food or whatever. But when I was reading the commentary, it was like God called them out to Canaan. So if he called you out somewhere, why don't you believe that he will sustain you in that place?
But you're trying to go to Egypt.
And so he went to Egypt, and because he went to Egypt, he had to lie to keep his wife, because he was afraid that, they were going to kill him and take his wife, whatever. So that he ended up lying. And then when they left, like the king like gave them all of these things, gave them servants and all this kind of stuff, right? Hagar was one of those.
Oh, he brought back. So he brought back his trouble.
Exactly. Just like he brought Lot, he brought Hagar.
Oh, because, you are so right.
Man, when I read that, I was like, that makes sense.
He wasn't wow. Because I was when I'm like, where is Abram getting all these slaves from? Like,
because Hagar was Egyptian. And I was like, that makes sense.
Wow.
So if he would have stayed in Canaan and trusted God, that God would sustain him, which makes when God actually revealed himself as El Shaddai even more important, because throughout this time, like Abram has tried to fill in the rest of the story. Like when God says, I'm going to do something, Abram says, okay, cool, this is what I can do to make that happen.
Exactly. But it's like, you're not supposed to make it happen. I'm telling you it's going to happen. Because it's like,
I am the creator that creates nothing.
And it's funny because Abraham is known for this man of faith, and he does have faith but like you said, he has delayed obedience, which a lot of us have. Yeah. So it's like your faith is strong, but I mean, even with his wife, he tells you that she's going to give you a son. And when your wife comes to you and says, well, have the son through this slave, you don't even pray about it. You don't even ask God about it. You're just like, yeah, that's probably how it is. I'm just going to, no. Uh-oh. I think we went out for a second. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm like, I thought about that. I'm like, Abraham is really taught, especially when you're a kid and you just learn about Abraham. It's very surface level about his faith, his faith, his faith. But he didn't have perfect faith, in my opinion. He probably had the best faith you can, because having faith is really hard. And even when you have delayed obedience, even when you still go, you still have faith, you still did it. It's scary, you did it. Moving away to across the country without your family, super scary. Being in a famine with a wife that you got to take care of, and maybe some herdsmen and whoever, your family. I mean, he obviously had people around him. When he went to rescue Lot, he had like 300 men to fight. Just fighting men. So clearly he already has a pretty big entourage or whatever, but he doesn't have perfect faith. He's not Jesus. No. He can't be perfect. He still has his flaws, but I think that's like actually good news.
It is. It really is, because we can put Abraham on a pedestal like, well, he had so much faith that he waited on God and all that kind of stuff. This is what we learned, like you said, in Sunday school.
Right. But
And
didn't
then it's like, no, he's just like us.
trying
And
to
God
make
chose him.
trying to finagle his way to, you know, you hear God what he say he's gonna do for you. You're like, okay, what kind of work can I put in to do this? When it's like your works, they I ain't asked for that. God don't need you to
Mm-mm.
do anything.
Nope.
He needs you to do what he said for you to do,
Exactly.
or sit still somewhere.
Pretty much.
Probably one of the two. That's
Yep.
it. Either
Pretty
you
much.
sitting still or you in action. What action you doing? It better be the action that I said. Otherwise, the action is unfruitful. And it's probably gonna get you in a bind. I think I read today. I don't want to rustle through my notes because I don't want to hear the paper on the recording, but it was something like you said about that delayed obedience. It was about how his disobedience ended up causing frustration and like heartache again with Lot, again with Sarah. Like it's
Mhm.
like you doing stuff. If you had never listened to your wife, now you got a lady in your house that's had to have your kid. You love your son, but now your wife mad. It was her idea. Now she mad. Now she mistreating the girl. I'm not sure if it was racism or she was just mad because I feel like I don't know how close, and they probably look similar. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know,
I would imagine.
but it's just too much. Sarai is in the intercessory prayer segment too,
um,
because that's ridiculous. Honestly,
yeah.
what's wrong with you?
Right. And like how
Like,
can you get mad with your
like
idea?
what you going through? Like,
On me. But this was just like a constant thing. Like,
yeah,
and I didn't notice how many times this happened where God continued to remind him that I will do this for you. This
mm-hmm,
is the covenant I will make with you. I will guarantee that you'll have countless descendants. I will do this for you. I
mm-hmm,
will make you a great nation. I will
mm-hmm.
bless you. I will, all of these things. I. It
Yeah.
kept the
Now
onus
you,
on God. And
yeah.
then Abram was like, but like, I gotta do something. So like, I'm gonna do this. And something else that I read that was cool was that when he got to Canaan, he built an altar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And worshiped God there, right? And so I think it was in Bethel, maybe.
Maybe one
Um,
of them was in Bethel. I don't
one
know
of
if
them
it
was
was
in
him or not.
Bethel. Yeah. But he made an altar, or built an altar to worship the Lord. And in the commentary it said that when you leave your place of worship, then you start to take things into your own hands, and then that'll lead you into sin. So him leaving
Okay.
Canaan, he left the place of his that he would worship God and honor God, ended up going to a place he's not supposed to go, which led him to end up having to lie. Which then, like, he still had to go back to Canaan. Like, it's not like his disobedience didn't disqualify him,
Mm-hmm.
but he still had to deal with the ramifications of it. Um, and it all started with him leaving where he was supposed to be. Because if he would have never left Canaan, he would have never gotten Hagar. He would have never gotten somebody else pregnant. There would never have been Ishmael. And
Yeah.
Ishmael is the father of, I don't want to say the father of Islam, but
Yeah, I want to say he fathered like all the Arab nations, right?
yeah. So then now you have this feud between the brothers. You see
That has been,
between
yeah, and
Ishmael
it's
and
still going
Isaac.
on today.
Exactly. And that wasn't the
Hmm.
plan of God. That didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but it knowing that all things work together for the good of those who love God and who are called according to his purpose, we see this clearly with Abraham, because the entire time he was basically disobeying God, the whole time, up until the time that he was sacrificing Isaac.
Yeah.
Up
Yeah.
until that point, everything that he did was partial obedience. And then once God once he got a full revelation of who God was, this is after God changed his name, expressed to him who, like who he was as El Shaddai, God Almighty in his life, right? Gave him Isaac. Now I feel like he actually trusts God. He always had faith that he existed, that
Yeah.
God was there. But now I feel like he trusts God to stay true to his word, because if God said that he's going to give you descendants, then he wouldn't have killed you during the famine. But but you still didn't feel secure and you found your own way to sustain yourself. If God said he was going to give you descendants, he's not going to keep Sarah's womb closed.
Yeah.
But you still found a way to, sustain yourself in that. But now, after getting Isaac, if God said he's going to give you descendants and he's giving you Isaac, then he's not going to kill Isaac.
Yeah.
And Abram knew that at that point.
Yeah, I think I actually read that he thought, because he was about to kill him.
Yeah.
He thought that God was just going to raise him from the dead.
Exactly. So it's like God was going to do it because, like, this
he was like, clearly,
yeah,
you're going to come back because I'm about to. He had the knife.
And resurrection was never a thing yet. Like no one was just raising from the dead yet.
Now that is some crazy faith. At this point, that is some crazy faith because you are literally going to kill the son that is supposed to provide all these descendants. Right. And you're like, I mean, I guess at that point, when you see miracle after miracle, if you still don't trust God, you're like, come on now. But that's a big one, to kill your own son. I mean, I guess God did it too, right? So
exactly, like it pointed straight to Jesus.
That points straight to that's a point straight to Jesus.
And not only that, that was a covenant moment because they were in covenant together. Like Abram doing that, and by faith, he killed his son because he believed his son was going to die. So he had already, like, his son was dead to him. And so basically came back as if by resurrection when he wasn't, having to kill his son. But because Abraham did that towards God, God was able to do that towards us. That was a covenant moment. And like we see the ram in the bush, and obviously we know that to be Jesus, but also in Hebrews, when it said that God's plan for Jesus was before the foundations of this earth was made, the ram was already stuck in the thicket. It was already stuck by its horns. It didn't just show up. It was already there. He just didn't see it. Wow. Because I'm sacrificing my son because that's what God told me to do. But he also told his people that me and the boy will come back down. So like whatever's gonna happen, gonna have to happen because this is the son of the promise. But yeah, that ram was already there, just like Jesus was already there to be the sacrifice for us. It just had an appointed time.
I saw a TikTok, and it was about this this subject, and it was an interesting perspective that I never thought about. It was about when Abraham was going to go sacrifice Isaac, and how in this time, they live in Canaan, right? Canaanites are pagans. They worshipped Baal or whatever. They sacrificed their firstborn children to their God. That was a thing that they did, right? So her perspective was that maybe in that time, Abraham was kind of just getting to know God. But in that time where he lives, people sacrifice their children to gods. That's a thing. Now those children didn't get resurrected. But he's like, if God already told me this, but he's like, maybe this is just a thing, that we do. But my God's going to bring my son back, right? So she was saying when God stopped, when he brought him up there, he's testing his faith, of course. But she was like, when he stopped him, she was like, what if it really wasn't all a test of faith? What if he was setting himself apart from the gods of this world by saying, I will never ask you to sacrifice your child to me. I am not like the gods that these people worship, I am the one and true living God, and I don't play like that.
Wow, I didn't know that. That
That was, I thought it was an
that's
interesting
kind of
take.
cool.
Yeah, but I did know that the Canaanites, because this is another deep dive I did one day when I was looking through the descendants of Noah, and how I want to say Shem, I want to say Abraham came from the line of Shem. Shem,
I think.
Shem.
I think.
Now, one of the other brothers, or one of the other sons, his descendants are like the Canaanites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, all these people that the Israelites fight later on in the Bible and displace out of the land of Canaan. But one day I did my deep dive on these people, and they worshiped this god. It was like an idol. It had its hands out or whatever, and then they would heat the hands up until they got hot red, and they would put their newborns on it. Satanists still do that to this day. I mean, I don't know if they burn them alive, but they sacrifice children, firstborns. Firstborns mean a lot to God, and they also mean a lot to Satan because it belongs a lot to God. So if the devil can get your firstborn, it's a win for him in his heart.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, people used to really be like, we'll get to it later, like when we get to like, I forgot what book, but it's like, because Israel starts doing that, like, and God's like, y'all over here sacrificing your kids in the fire, like, you know, like y'all wilding out here. Like, so it was like a commonplace thing for people to do.
Man.
Yeah, is that crazy?
That's insane.
Ridiculous. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I saw that on TikTok. I don't know if I can find it ever again, but I saw it on TikTok.
Man. Okay, so
what do you want to go on to? Where are we at?
Well, I guess this is like an overview kind of point. I guess to transition into like a one of the other stories, but Abraham obviously, you know, lied about Sarah being his sister, but he did that twice, and then Isaac did that same thing with Rebecca.
He did. How bad was it that if you had a beautiful wife, people was going to kill you? It must have been really bad. Like,
had to be, because
like that must have been a common.
Seemed to be doing it.
It must have been a common thing that people would literally steal your wife and kill you. Like, I don't know. Maybe I should look that up, but it seems like like why would they just lie for no reason?
Right. Like,
I don't think they would lie for no reason. I think it was like it was real survival mode. Yeah. Even though they were kind of all their sisters at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like cousins.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. After that, let me see. Should I read any more comments? Let me see. We were in, where were we at? In 12? Genesis 8, 12? Where were we? Let me see if I can read any more. Where were we at? Did we get to the Tower of Babel? No. What were you about to say?
Isaac did it to the same king as Abraham did the second time. Abimelech.
Really?
Po King got duped twice.
He was like, what is wrong with y'all? He was like, bruh, I don't have time. Yeah, because I thought it was interesting too how God appeared to those kings or whatever, and I wasn't exactly sure if those kings were followers of God, but God appeared to them, and even they knew, like, hey, your God appeared to me. He told me I better not touch this woman, so I ain't. And it's like, right. Dang, like you believed real quick. Like, what did you see in that vision?
Like, look, I ain't trying to die. It was a bunch of self-preservation, probably. I ain't trying to die.
Yes. Oh, we do. There was some comments people said about Hagar, I think. Let me see. Let me read one of the best ones. Oh, somebody agreed with you about the partial obedience, because AJ says, so if God told Abram that he will have an heir of his own flesh and blood, why agree with Sarai to go along with her plan to have a child through Hagar? And then he puts the little thinking face. He's like, Scripture said that Abram believed the Lord.
Yeah, you can believe. I mean, okay, so there's there's different
That's
levels of
true. I mean, you can
belief.
believe and still do dumb stuff.
Yeah, like all of us do. Like,
Sometimes I was thinking about how, like in the early Christian church, or even like in life, like people don't like women to speak, or I feel like the early church had a big fear of women coming to be too powerful in the church. And it's because they're looking at history and they're like, okay, Eve, not that she deceived Adam, but Adam, it's like men are dumb when it comes to women somehow. So I offer you an apple, even though you sitting here and you should be telling me no, you take it, or whatever it was, whatever fruit it was. Or Sarah, for instance, she's like, let's do this plan. And Abraham's like, you know, or, we keep going down the line, like Jezebel, a evil queen. She literally influenced her husband. Like it's a few instances that I think have scarred the men of the early church, where they're like, women, y'all just don't say nothing because men cannot think straight when y'all talk. Because it's like, what like, they're supposed to be the spiritual leaders, they're supposed to be thinking, and they're not thinking. They're just doing whatever the woman says, and the woman don't even have to really persuade you. It's kind of crazy. Like, so I think we'll get into that later, but I feel like that's a lot of where early church rhetoric is like, we can't let the women get too crazy, because as we see in the past, we are led astray by women because we don't know how to think when women start talking. Which is not our fault. It's not our fault.
It's not, but that's
get yourself together. Get it together. But yeah. Let me see if I have any other comments. We're still on Abraham, right?
Oh, sure.
Where are we at? I'm not sure.
I had mentioned Isaac and Rebecca.
Oh yeah, we're on Isaac and Rebecca.
We're trying to get through like 2 weeks worth of reading.
I know.
Just for those.
I like Isaac. Know. I feel like Isaac is the most wholesome out of the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob clan. Out of that line, Isaac don't do much. Isaac, from what I can remember, he was like just trying to do his thing. He got duped by his kids. He didn't like that. He got duped by his wife. His wife, who, I don't know what's wrong with her. Like, Isaac didn't deserve all that. They literally deceived Isaac. Isaac loved Esau, right? He loved him. I know he did. I could tell. Esau was like his homeboy. He was like, you're my first son, even though Jacob was trying to be the first and he was holding on to that heel. Too bad you didn't come out first. And Jacob was already plotting on Esau, trying to steal his birthright. Esau gave it away.
But Esau gave it away for some soup, though.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I can plot all
it's like, how hungry were you? How hungry?
Obviously, really hungry. He said ain't nobody that hungry.
He said he was about to die. He said, if I don't eat, then what's worth of the birthright? Because I'll be dead.
Dramatic.
Yeah, but they had a dramatic mama. See, this is where genetics comes into play. Because their mama dramatic, and then their granddaddy, Laban? That's Rebecca's daddy, right? Is her daddy her uncle or who? She's related to
uncle. It's her uncle.
It's in the family line. He was deceitful too. They just a whole bunch of deceitful people. I don't know where they got Rebecca from. She might have been young too, though, because when Isaac took Rebecca, when the guy went to go get Rebecca, they almost didn't want to let her go because I felt like they felt like she was too young. And if you notice, when she leaves with her wet nurse. Which is like, how old is Rebecca that she has to leave with her wet nurse?
Exactly.
What's going on here?
Wow, I feel like she's like 12.
Yeah. Let me see. I might try to read it again because I was like, when a lot of things when you reread it, you're like, say what now?
How long do you keep a wet nurse?
That's what I was trying to figure out. Let me see. A wife for Isaac. Let me see. Because I wrote that down too. Because they didn't want her to leave at first. I was like, well, maybe it's because she was so young.
Maybe.
Because they were like, let me see. The brother and mother said, let the girl stay with us. Oh, no, I think Laban is her brother. Was it Laban?
Laban is her brother.
It's her brother, yes.
So it's Jacob's uncle.
Yeah. So, and they're like, at first they don't want to let her go. And they're like, let's ask the girl for her opinion. And she's like, that she'll go. And then says, so they sent away their sister Rebecca with the one who had nursed and raised her, and Abraham's servant and his men. So, I mean, maybe it was customary though to leave with your like,
nanny?
Is it almost like a maid?
Maybe.
But it was who nursed her.
Maybe.
Nurse is from the,
right.
So I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. So maybe
like,
she
why I need a babysitter? How old am I?
I don't know why she was plotting on her husband. I don't know if I thought they had a pretty good relationship. Maybe not. Isaac had started to get old. Rebecca was probably still young. And she, for some reason, she wanted Jacob to have the birthright. I don't know if she loved Esau less. I'm not sure
I feel like
why.
it was just, but
like
it's
just a mess.
Favorites.
Yeah, but it was just a mess.
Yeah, but the thing is like when she was pregnant, God told her that like,
they
you will have 2 sons, and the youngest will rule over the older. The second will come before the first.
And that's another example of you trying to do what God says and help him out when he don't need your help. See, God told her, hey, your youngest is going to rule over the oldest. And she's like, okay, cool. She's like, wait, but that birthright in a way. But, he's not going to get blessed by my husband, and he's not going for what I'm saying, even though I heard from the Lord. So she's like, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to dress you up like Esau. Your daddy can't see no more. He's old. And we're going to make that soup.
Yeah. But I think it really does. You would have to mention that Esau did not value his birthright
at all.
And so it's like, did Rebecca really scheme for the birthright when Esau didn't want it in the first place?
And he had given up the birthright before the scheme even happened.
Right. And so
he just didn't get his blessing. Exactly. He missed out on 2 things.
Exactly. And so it's like the birthright would have already been been Jacob's. So when it came to like, I guess all of the wealth and everything, it was already Jacob's. Like he already gave it away. So, so the blessing was really just extra.
Yeah, that's true.
So now Esau's mad, talking about Jacob, stole my birthright. Nah, you gave it to him for some soup, bro.
Yeah, you gave it away.
You gave it to him for some Campbell's soup, man. Ain't nobody that hungry. Like big hungry.
He was hungry, girl.
Man, he was hungry. Ain't nobody that hungry. But then, Jacob ended up getting swindled multiple times after that. And I think it was really funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you reap what you sow. Because he was swindled by his uncle. Because he basically went to go marry his cousins.
Yeah, but they all did that.
Yeah, and got swindled hard. Like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is that, like, for him to be the youngest, and he basically took the spot of the older twin. He got swindled because he wanted the younger sister and got the older sister.
And then they told him, it is not customary for me to marry off the younger before the older. That was a lesson for him. You doing stuff out of order.
You doing stuff out of order.
Doing stuff out of order.
But okay, sir, how you not gonna know? Okay, we're gonna say that. We're gonna say that for intercessory prayer. Because
we're gonna say that. Yeah, because there's a few people, a few characters I gotta say for intercessory prayer, because really Jacob in there too. Because Jacob, he's a funny character to me.
He is.
Jacob is really an unlikely, like, like Jacob,
He's a lot.
I like him though because he makes me feel like it's okay that I'm kind of messed up person. Cause he
I can
was
understand that. Yeah. Yeah,
he
me too.
he wasn't totally messed up, but like he wasn't. He's just like a regular dude,
Yeah.
and he try to do the right thing, but he don't always do the right thing.
Yeah.
But like this is the man who wrestled with God.
Literally.
What's
I was about to say
wrong with
that.
you,
Like,
bro? Like you wrestling with God.
to the point where he's like, I ain't letting you go until you bless me.
Yeah, like you negotiating too.
And
You
God was
negotiating.
losing. Like,
Like you got your hip broke. Like not everybody is, but I mean, I don't know. Jacob is
mad
just he's a
extra.
very interesting character. Like
Yeah.
anybody who wrestles with God and then he's like, dang, I saw God face to face and I didn't die. Like,
Like,
wow.
I lived. I
Like
saw
that's
him and I
he was
lived.
like, that's what's up. He was like, that's awesome.
But he was scared of his brother.
He was. He was. He was like, bruh, I want to go
How you
back,
go?
but I know he gonna kill me when I go back because I was very deceitful and I ran like a coward.
Yep. How you gonna fight God and get your hip broke and then be scared to face your brother?
Mm, I don't know, but I
um,
was glad his brother wasn't mad at the end.
yeah.
It was clear God had did some work on him while
Yeah.
Jacob was gone too.
Yep.
Hmm.
But then who ended up was it was it Esau that ended up going to marry some of Ishmael's descendants?
I maybe because I also thought about how we always thinking about how Isaac and Ishmael, became these great nations, but um, there's also a let me see if I can find it. There's also a divide with Esau and Jacob's descendants. Let me see if I can find that. Where are we? Oh, I was about to say that was stolen blessing.
I think
Jacob's
we're in like
departure. That's like almost at the end. We're almost at
yeah.
where we're stopping at for
Mm-hmm.
um before we get into because when in the intercessory prayers where we get into the drama and these love triangles that I keep saying.
Man,
These little
so
wiggies.
many. They got more love triangles than
There's
Grey's Anatomy.
so many love triangles. I'm trying to see where preparing to meet Esau. Okay, let me see. Did I highlight it? Where it says that what his descendants were? I don't know. I feel like you're right though.
Cause
I,
I
I might have went too far. I don't know where it says it, but I know it says like who he married.
I had read it today.
But maybe it's
It may
not.
have been
Maybe it's not that
either
far back. Or
Saturdays or today's.
yeah, I think I went too far.
Cause today was like 4 or 5 different chapters.
Yeah. Let me see. I don't know. I think I'll have to find it. But when I read it, I remember thinking like, "Oh, wait, maybe that's two different nations too." But it's funny because I don't know if it's funny or not, but every time that there's two different families or whatever, even if it's not the chosen family,
Mm-hmm.
God still blesses the other family. Like Ishmael's
Yeah.
descendants, like they're it says that God loved them, it says that God blessed them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is also interesting to know, especially when people are picking sides and being racist or being
Yeah.
bigots, that proves that God loves everyone. Even if,
Mm-hmm.
you're off on your theology, Muslims believe in God, they don't believe in Jesus, which is where they're off. But they're still loved by God. And so they should be loved by us as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really important.
Mm.
And something that I've noticed is that whenever there is a rivalry, there's always works versus grace.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's always self-sustaining versus God sustaining. Cuz even with Jacob and Esau, um what it seems flipped, but then again not, because Jacob spent a lot of time in the house. Um and you see Esau was a man of the field. So
Mm-hmm.
he was the worker bee, I guess. And then you see
Yeah.
Jacob, who spent time in the house with his mother a lot. Um, and so I just think it's really cool that you're seeing that we see multiple occasions of this work versus grace. Because then later, I think in Romans it talks about the two sons, one that's born of the bondservant Hagar, and the other one born of promise. And you see that
Mm-hmm.
as the direct um, um, separation of works versus grace, and who we belong to under our covenant or whatever. So I think that's really
Yeah.
cool that there's multiple times of that. Um, but man, Jacob, Rachel, Leah, um, if I hear one more person say that God shut up my womb and so sleep with my maid, and a man saying, okay, like, can y'all get it together? It didn't
Yeah.
work the first time.
Are
What
we
makes you think
moving?
it's
Are
gonna
we
work
moving into
now?
intercessory prayer? Is this a transition? Am I
It
am
can
I about to
be,
go in? Am I about to go in on people or no?
honestly, because I guess we
Well,
could start going in on people.
I mean, just
Because
let me know because I do have something to say about Leah and Rachel. And
let's transition into intercessory prayer.
okay, you want to explain what our intercessory prayer segment is?
Yes, sure. Intercessory prayer is a moment where we lift up prayers for others. We take our brains, our minds off of ourselves, and we just lift other people up
Mm-hmm.
to the Lord
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
the lack of knowledge that they have of life.
Yes, amen.
And trying to say this in a holy way. They
They
the
don't.
Lord said, if you want wisdom, ask, and they did not ask.
They did not ask. They made. These are the people that the decisions are questionable.
Completely.
Questionable decisions, and we questioning them when there's no judgment because I feel like a lot of these stories you I see modern day I feel like human nature hasn't changed much.
It hasn't.
So when I see, okay, let's talk about Jacob, Leah, and Rachel.
Who we lifting up
Okay,
in prayer? Who we
we
lifted up in
lifted up in
prayer?
prayer. Jacob goes, he sees Rachel, he's like, that's the one for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants to marry her. He's then forced to marry Leah because she's the oldest. He
Mm-hmm.
don't want Leah. He want Rachel. He actually loved Rachel. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, Leah, whatever, girl. So who started having babies first? I want to say Leah started having babies, right?
Uh-huh.
Leah is having babies, but she is still not getting the attention from her husband. So she's like, let me have more babies
Right.
because the baby is going to make him love me. Now, we have met people like this in our lives, in modern day life, that think having a baby will make the man love you. Newsflash, probably
It
ain't. It's
doesn't.
probably gonna make him hate you if he didn't already.
Right. It's not gonna make your life better.
Like
He loves who
if
he
he loves you,
loves.
if he already love you, having his baby is just gonna make it more. He's gonna be like, dang, she's awesome. If he don't really like you much and you have his baby, it's gonna switch the opposite way.
Completely
Even
agree.
though what's weird though, even in all this, Jacob keep having sex with Leah because I guess he has to. It's his wife. I
Yeah.
don't know, or I don't know if Jacob was just enjoying all of this, or if he was upset. I don't know. I don't know. So
Uh
then
I don't know if he actually wanted to have sex with Leah, because there was a
he
point
did
where,
though.
I know, but there was a point where Rachel uh was like, "Yo, Leah, can I have some of your mandrakes?" And Leah was like, "You took my husband, and now you want my mandrakes too? Like, my son just gave these to me."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, you can sleep with Jacob tonight if I can have your mandrakes, girl." And she was like, "Oh, okay, bet." So she just sold
Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah. And Jacob went in there. He's like, all
She
right.
she pimped out her husband to the other wife for some
At what
mandrakes.
at one point did they start bringing the slaves in because they both brought slaves in. I thought
They
that was
did.
weird. Leah, you already got kids, but
But
you bringing in
she
another
couldn't
slave.
have kids for a while, so she had
Well,
like
he shut
stopped
her
having
womb up
kids.
at one point.
Yeah,
God was shutting them both up at a time.
basically.
Because I want
Um,
to say Rachel started using slaves first. She had like
mhm,
2 from a slave.
mhm,
Then Leah started doing it too.
mhm.
Then finally Rachel gets to have her own son.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all I can think about is these women are fighting for this man's attention through having babies. And he is just like, do, 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 do. First of all, he don't even have time to worry about y'all. He's probably just getting his stress off because he's dealing with your dad, his uncle, who is swindling him, who is
Yup.
finagling him all day,
All day.
every day, for years at a time. I
For
worked
like
10
10
years for you. Do you know how long 10 years is? I'm gonna work 10 years for you. And then at the end of the 10 years, you tell me, nah, work more. 10 years again for this. Like, Jacob was out there for like 20 plus years,
Mhm.
just trying to get away, just trying to, I just want to go. Eventually, he had to just escape. He was
But
like, I gotta
see,
go.
I gotta lift Jacob up in prayer because how you not gonna know who you sleeping with? Like,
You know, he was
like,
sleeping with 4 women.
but the thing is that like Laban did the bait and switch, and like put Leah in the bed instead of Rachel, and then Jacob slept with her, and now they were married. And
Yeah.
so it's like, how you not gonna know if you said that you love Rachel? How you not gonna know that Rachel ain't in the bed?
I don't think he cared. I think at one point, you know who's who. You had to sleep with 4 different women. You took 4 because at that, don't they have to
No,
take
this
the
was
slaves?
before. This was the beginning. This was while he was
Oh,
trying to work for Rachel. When
oh
like after the
yeah,
first, yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
after the
yeah.
first set of years, and
I
Laban was
don't
like,
know.
"Yeah, I'm gonna
I
give you
think that
Rachel."
he slid in there and he couldn't slide out once he realized. I mean, that is an honest answer. Because think about men. Just think about them. If he walk in there in the tent dark and he just get in there and then once he realizes her and he's just, is he gonna stop? He might not. Might just keep on going. And he's like, dang, at the end he might feel bad, but he's like, dang, it's already in there.
I cannot. I
Ooh, I
cannot.
promise y'all, this is Christian content, but I'm just saying. Mm,
Man,
I'm just saying.
it's
I
so
mean, that can
okay.
be
But
explanation.
like, hold on,
I mean, I don't know.
hold on, bro. Back into mother's tent. He loved her deeply. Um, I'm trying to go back to when. Oh, that's Isaac. Okay, hold on.
Oh, are we trying to find where he accidentally slept with her?
Yeah,
Or I don't know. I feel like ain't no accident.
I think it was because he woke up and he was like, you not Rachel."
Let's see. Okay. Oh, here it is. Maybe this is it. Jacob deceived in chapter 29. Or no, wait,
Probably.
no, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe
No,
not.
no, I think that's right.
Because he was deceived so many ways. I gotta read through it.
True.
Wait, so he worked. Okay, he worked for Rachel for 7 years, and it was only a few days to him because of his love for her. He
Yeah,
loved
for
her
him
so
to
much.
be watching Rachel for 7 years, be in love with her, it feels like a couple days, and then you get in the bed and you cannot tell that
Oh
that's
yeah,
not
I
Rachel.
see it now. I see it now. It says, it says, when
But when
morning
Jacob
came,
woke up in the morning, it was Leah.
there was Leah, and he said to, is it Laban or Laban? I don't know. I
I
have
don't
to
know.
go read the audio or listen to audio. What have you done to me? Wasn't it for Rachel that I worked for you? Maybe he was so tired from all that work that he just lay in the bed and she just did all the work.
I don't know, but he needs some
Or
intercession
maybe
because
they slept in the bed, but they did not do anything. He just fell asleep, and when he woke up, he was like, who that? That
nah,
ain't that
he
ain't her."
slept with her. Cause
This is the thing. Jacob was just getting it all around. It didn't
yeah,
sound like he was turning it down. It sounded like he was like, "Oh, y'all need me to perform my duties, don't worry. I got you. I got it. Don't worry. I'm okay. It's okay.
Listen, look, Jacob was out there and he needs some prayer for sure.
Yes. That's what I
Um,
said. Jacob is like, I like him a lot because to me, he reminds me of David in the sense of like, he loves God. He has an understanding of who God is, and he knows that God is for him,
yeah,
but he be doing dumb stuff,
completely
which
done.
I can relate to
Oh yeah, all the time,
all wholeheartedly. I
all the
can
time.
totally relate. So yeah, who else is
Um,
in our intercessory prayer from before?
uh, I'm gonna say Lot's wife
And Lot too, but yeah,
and
Lot.
Lot too, because Lot,
I got some things to say about Lot. And so
and
do I
Lot's
think some of
daughters.
yeah, I'm
This
gonna
is
go to the comments. There was a lot of comments people had in the group about Lot. They don't like Lot. They don't like how Lot was gonna pass off his daughters to the men of Sodom. I don't
exactly.
like it either.
I don't.
Let's think about
Not to
this.
say, but I mean, like he was doing it to save some angels, but like I'm pretty sure them angels could have saved themselves.
The
He
angels
didn't
don't
have to
need
be
the
like,
help.
I got two daughters. They could like you could do
He
whatever you
was like
want to.
I have two daughters that are virgins. He propped that up to be like a
Who
thing
had
like
fiancés?
don't y'all want this? Like this is even better than men. But
Right.
yeah, that whole situation, even the men, everybody needs prayer in that whole Sodom and Gomorrah
The whole
situation.
thing. But then the
First of
daughters
all,
turned around later and
the daughters turn around with their mom.
no, I'm saying like
Oh,
they
you
got
talking about when they yeah.
yeah with their dad so that they could have children.
That whole family is just too
That's
much.
just too
Like
much. Their whole
let's think
family
about the whole
needs
Sodom and
intercession and
Gomorrah
prayer.
situation. It's like these angels come through. They have the image of men. I suppose. I feel like angels
Mm,
probably just look real throw though. Like they probably look real like
yeah,
they probably look like men, but like what's going on there?
kind of
Because
big, kind of
I
bust.
had a friend actually ask me. She's not a believer, so she was just asking me questions about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah because it's really it's. I feel like when people talk about homosexuality, they kind of always go to that
Mm-hmm.
story. And she was saying that she was reading about like how it was just a matter of hospitality, not that they were homosexuals. And I said, okay, let's think about it. And I said, well, they were being, I said, say they weren't homosexuals. I said, because let's say that they didn't think the angels were men. Maybe they were just so wicked and lustful and disgusting that they just saw something different and they wanted it. I said, who knows, right? I give you
Mm-hmm.
benefit of the doubt. I said, but at the end of the day, they came to rape them because they didn't ask permission. They didn't have consent. They just said they wanted to sleep with them, whatever they thought they were. It was a group of men. They didn't want the women that were offered. So there's that. So I guess you could talk about hospitality, but it's really that the world, it was just a wicked place. And they were literally, I mean, I can't even get past it. I can't get past the fact that they were probably, if they were trying to rape these angels, they were probably doing, who knows what they were doing day to day to different people, to women, to
True.
men, to animals, to children. Who even knows what was going on? God says the outcry, and this is another time when God came down to talk to Abram in
Like,
person, in a
man, dude
man.
was like, yo, can you like if there's like 50 people, okay, cool. If it was like 45, would you like leave it alone? How about if it's just my cousin that I shouldn't have taken from the jump and he keeps getting into trouble and his family?
Can you just save him? Can you just
Can
save
you
him?
just save him? Because
But
I'm getting tired of saving him.
he said that there was an outcry to him that he had to go fix it. So I'm like, what was the outcry from? Was it from the people who were getting like what was going on to the people that there was an
I wouldn't be
outcry to God?
surprised if it was Lot. Say, come get me.
He seemed like he was fine. He seemed like he was having a good time. He seemed like he was actually loving where he was at. And oh yeah, let me read some of the comments because people do not like that what Lot was doing. So let's see here. Delia said, "How disgusting of a man to try to market his daughters off at that underage. That there was wicked in the world. That he would be tricked into. into his girls. Oh wait, what did she say? There was some typos there, but she did not like that.
Mm-mm.
Let's read another one. Let's see here. Somebody actually said, and this is kind of a question. I don't know if we have an answer for her, but she said, chapter 19 was so triggering for me. I have a history of that stuff in my family, and I just don't understand the point of this chapter at all. Can someone please help me out? I can't see past anything but rage that Lot offered his daughters.
Man, I guess, well, one thing that I say often is that just because God allows it doesn't mean he approves of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what we see in the Bible is a lot of flawed people, and
Yeah.
that's the beauty of the Bible, is that we are all a bunch of flawed humans in
Mm-hmm.
need of a savior, and so the Old Testament's not any different.
Yeah, I think
And
it's good
so
that they write exactly what happened, because
yeah,
otherwise it's like, why would you want them to leave it out? Because you, it's it's like, we do need to know that these things have happened, because it's
mhm,
real life.
it
Real life
is.
happens. Because I think people have a perception of the Bible that it's um like a book of fairy tales that are supposed to make you feel good and
That
supposed
have
to
all these
teach
happy
you a
endings after.
lesson. And really, a lot of it is historical accounts and things
Mhm.
that just happened that people thought this is important enough to write down because people need to know it later. So that's why there's instances of rape in the Bible. There's instances of
Cause they
sex. I
turn
mean,
around
all
and did
sorts of
that to
stuff.
their daddy.
Yes, Lot's daughters did rape him. They really did. That's
They
that's
got him drunk
that
and did
is
that.
that is yeah. They need to come to the altar.
Right.
Lot's daughters.
Intercessory prayer.
Oh
Where's the
yeah.
oil?
They
Y'all
probably,
need
and
Jesus.
that's another example of not trusting God too, because
Yes. Oh my goodness.
you think
Exactly. Yes.
you thinking, okay, my fiancés have died in the fire, and
Hmm.
I no longer have anyone to to impregnate me, to live, pass on the name, the line, or whatever. So they're like, let's preserve our dad's line. I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to say their hearts were in the right place, but I feel like they thought they were doing the right thing. But there was no consultation of God in it at all. There was no
At
crying out for
all.
God, like, hey, God, do you want his bloodline to die off or not? Maybe he does. Now
That's
you
a good
doing
point.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I don't know. But
That's a really good point.
a lot of times, a lot of these things are just, when you realize that you out of pocket, a lot of times it's that you didn't trust God because you were fearful of what was going to happen, but you didn't rely on God. You relied on
Hmm.
your own actions, and now you just messed it up more, probably, most
Yep.
likely.
Hmm.
Because who did their kids turn out to be?
I don't even know.
Did it say? Because I
I
bet
don't remember
I
there
bet
being
you they
any
weren't nobody.
names.
I bet you they weren't anybody good. I could probably almost guarantee it that it was not anybody that you wanted to be around. But let's see.
I don't remember seeing any names.
Let me see if it's at the bottom. Okay, here it is. Both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The firstborn gave birth to a son and named him Moab, and he is the father of the Moabites. And the younger was the father of the Ammonites. I feel like those were both people that was fighting with the Israelites.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
so
They
too.
was all fighting with their
Carmelites.
cousins. Hmm.
And they ain't even need, like, those people did not need to be
They
like,
didn't even need to be around. Yeah.
man,
See, when you do
more
stuff,
unneeded frustration
more
because
unneeded
Abram
frustration.
decided to take his cousin with him instead of leaving him at the house.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One little decision makes like a big dent in like
Hmm.
life. People don't really realize like all that stuff, like every little decision. The fiance's Lot's daughter's fiance's decision to not take anything seriously and stay. Now, I mean, they could have had babies with them, but now they didn't. It's like, it's just all
Hmm.
these little decisions it's like they're creating whole nations that not even supposed to be around.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's
crazy.
crazy. Yep.
Hmm.
Anyone else that needs intercessory prayer? I'm trying to
Oh,
think if
I
there's
forgot
anyone
about
else.
Adam.
Oh
We gotta talk
yes,
about Adam.
Adam needs
Adam,
intercessory
I
prayer.
need you to come forward. Where you, Adam? I say that he's in this group because in the fall of man, in the garden, when Eve is being tempted by the serpent,
Mm,
we see many, like, if you just Google Eve right now, probably you will see a picture of her and the snake, just her and the snake.
right,
But, well, when you read the scripture, Adam is standing right
right there,
there looking like a dummy, just
and not saying anything.
not saying a thing, not saying nothing, just eating fruit, and then go blame his wife when God asked him about it.
Right, it's the woman you gave me, but like you
But
ate
you was
too,
right there though.
and sin comes from your seed. So it's not her fault.
It's not her fault. And what were you doing? Like, there's a lyrics in a Kanye West song,
Hmm.
in the Everything We Need song, and Kanye's like, I feel like I want to make a reel to the lyrics, but it's like, what if Eve made apple juice? You go do what Adam do, or say, baby, let's put it back on a tree because we have everything we need. It's like, that's what
Mm.
Adam was supposed to
Exact.
do.
That's what he should have done.
That's what he should have done. Or he could have led her to the tree of life and say, let's eat from this one. Because
Right. Like
this one, if we eat from
let's
this one, we're gonna have
cleanse.
eternal life actually. But y'all don't want to eat from the one that's not forbidden. You want to eat from the one that's forbidden because of the devil's lies. He still lies, y'all. He still
Oh,
lies.
he still does. But yes,
Telling the
Adam does
same
need
lies he
intercessory
started with.
prayer.
He's telling y'all the same lies you started with, that you can be God and you can be like God. Okay?
Mm-mm-mm.
Let that marinate. One day we're gonna do an episode about all this new age stuff. It's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
come. It's
we
we're
gonna
gonna
have
do
to for
that
sure. Oh, maybe
because
when we get to like Joseph and the whole magician thing.
yes.
Um,
Yes, we
we gonna
have
have to
we
talk
have
about
lots of content to come, don't worry.
so much, so much.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
I don't
guess.
know who else needed intercessory prayer. I know Adam did. We did a lot. Um, hmm. I think that's it.
I think that's it too.
I think that is it for I'm trying to think. I didn't read as many comments as I thought I was gonna read, but I think I read most of them, or most of, like, the ones I thought that I
Yeah.
could remember. But yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining us for our very
Yes.
first episode. This one's
I know.
long.
If you hung out for the whole time, you are a true writer.
You
We're
are a
at 2 hours and
trooper.
12 minutes. But I did think it was going to be 2 hours. I think normally our episodes will be an hour because it'll be a week's worth of content.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2 weeks worth
Basically 2 weeks. Yeah.
because we couldn't get our lives together and the devil was on attack
Mm-hmm.
hardcore. And I would just like to say that, and I think sorry, there's a dog moving around in here. Hopefully it's not too loud, but I feel like that's happening maybe with our group in general. I think when you set out to really seek God and you really trying to do it, it's always something that happens. Like, there's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Satan will love to distract you. If he can't get you to not believe in God, he'll just distract you from spending time with God. That's how I feel. So I
Yeah.
feel like we've been distracted. Me and Vic talked about it before we even got on here, that we were both just feeling this disconnect and we didn't like it. And I've noticed in our group that everybody was really fired up at the beginning, and we're like on day 15 and it's dwindling. I can just feel the dwindle a little bit, just a
Yeah.
little bit. And I feel like it could be because maybe there are some attacks that are happening because people are drawing closer to God. And I want people to know that it's going to happen. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep going. Trust
Yep.
me. Being
Mm-hmm.
near God is where you want to be. Being away from God is terrible. That's when you have anxiety, panic attacks, all the things. Like, just doing this episode, I feel so much better. My heart has been racing since, I don't know what day that was. Maybe Thursday.
Same.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There was so much, I don't even know if it was anger in my heart. It was just so much going on that I
Mm-hmm.
just had to let it all go. I had to pray so much, y'all. It's going to be hard to pray sometimes when you're feeling like, man, I don't care about anybody or forget everybody. And that is literally what the devil wants. He wants to isolate you, wants you to think nobody cares about you, wants you to think that you're all alone, nobody understands you, that you have no friends. It's all a lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lie. Because you do have a friend. You have at least one friend. And that's Jesus. He's your
That
friend.
is Jesus.
He's
And
your
that
friend.
was the benediction.
Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. Mm.
Thank all of you for joining us. I guess I'll just leave you with Galatians 6 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not get tired of doing what is good.
Mm.
At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up.
Yes. Amen and amen.
Follow me on It's Your Girl Vic on Instagram.
Yes. And follow me at A Word with Wiggy on Instagram. And then are you dropping your YouTube on here too? Is it the same? Is it It's Your Girl Vic on
It's Your Girl
YouTube
Vic
too?
on everything.
My YouTube is actually Wiggy TV. I don't know if I'm changing it yet because there might be some other things on there. It's a whole channel. There's multiple shows.
And we will talk to you guys next week.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. How do I get out of here?